or even just the old-fashioned way at kceandtv.com. We're going to keep the live stream going as long as we have to. And again, we'll give you periodic updates. We'll give you constant updates as is needed. So make sure you have one of those ways of getting our live stream to you. But for now, on the TV side of things, we're going to go ahead and send it over to Wheel of Fortune, but we'll keep this going on our live stream. Again, thanks for joining us here on this Wednesday evening. All right, I want to thank everybody for staying with us on our live stream. If you tuned into 6 News at 6, we were telling you all about these severe thunderstorm warnings that are now popping up all across central Texas. There's one up in Hill County right now. This storm is diminishing, but what's happening is we're seeing outflow from these storms kind of push back to the north. So even though we have that little boundary that came through a little bit earlier, we're still seeing the development of some thunderstorms capable of some potentially severe hail back behind the main line there as well. Out ahead of everything else, we're kind of seeing the most potential for severe weather. Again, this storm right here is developing here as it moves through southern Limestone County towards Freestone County. And of course, the storm we've been talking about for basically the last 10 or 15 minutes, that's the one in Bell County right now, moved through Killeen, now moving through towards the Temple and Belton area, moving right along Highway 14. Now the good news is it doesn't look quite as organized as it looked before, and some of that hail core may have diminished just a little bit. Let's take a look inside the storm here. I say that, but our radar indicating the hail has actually grown even larger. Just north of 14, it's showing up to about 2-inch hail. That's egg-sized hail. Now, again, I always, every time I talk about the hail, I know if you've heard it 1,000 times today, you're going to hear it 1,000 more. But when I talk about hail and I talk about these radar reports, these are estimates. Our radar is really good at estimating things. It is not always perfect. So could this be up to 2 inches? It is entirely possible. It's also entirely possible that we're seeing really probably 1-inch hail reaching the ground. So that is worth noting, but just understand it is capable at this point of potentially up to 2-inch hail there, just north of 14, now moving towards 317. So we're looking at potentially the Nolanville area, just past the Harker Heights area, and again, continuing to slide right along Highway 14. So we're going to keep an eye on that as it continues to move towards Temple. manageable. If this starts to get closer and we start to see it still maintaining that hail core, of course, we'll break it on TV as well. But for now, we're going to keep it right here on the 6 Plus, KCENTV.com, and mobile app live stream as long as this doesn't necessarily look like it's going to be one of those situations where it increases to 3-inch hail. Now, here's the good news. In the last scan, you just saw it falling apart a little bit. It is a little more disorganized. We're now seeing inside that deepest part of the core more like a 1-inch hail rather than the 2-inch hail that we were seeing before. That's good news. We want to see these get weaker and weaker as they get closer and closer, because obviously 2 inches worth of hail can do a lot of damage to your car. So that is not ideal. Also to your roof and any windows as well. All right, so that's that storm. The other storms that we have to talk about, again, off to the north just a little bit in McLennan County. And again, the good news with all of this is this. What we've seen is that little frontal boundary undercutting these storms just a little bit. And what that does is it really starts to remove some of that tornadic threat. You really have to have lower level heat, humidity. You have to have what we call lower level wind shear as well. And so we're just not seeing that with the cooler winds at the surface. So that's good news. It takes away some of the tornadic threat, but again, still capable of producing some of these large hail cores as well. So we're going to continue to watch this. Make sure you keep it right here on our live stream. All right, thanks for staying with us on our live stream again this evening. Still a lot going on, still multiple severe thunderstorm warnings, and if you're in the Temple and Belton area, this is the area that is most likely to see some fairly large hail over the next several minutes. That storm with a severe thunderstorm warning for Bell County now moving towards 317, should move over 317 and in towards Temple and Belton here in the next several minutes. And as we zoom in here, probably already seeing the rain if you're in West Temple, if you're in Belton right now towards Jubilee Springs. That hail core is just north, just about a mile north of I-14 right now. As we take a look at it, Again, still showing signs of some very large hail, not like it was before. Remember, we were seeing up to 2 inches in diameter before, now about 1.5. So golf ball sized hail being indicated by radar. Now, I always point that out, and I've pointed it out 1,001 times today. I'll do it again. Is whenever we have our radar estimates, again, they're not perfect, but they give us a pretty good idea. So likely 1 inch to 1.5 inch hail, so quarter to golf ball sized hail falling out of this storm as it continues to move towards 317. So that is likely going to be an issue. Again, this is damaging hail, can be damaging to cars, to your roof, to windows, of course. So again, this is something that we're continuing to watch as it moves towards Temple and Belt. Now, here's the good news, is we are kind of watching a track that could take it just to the north of Temple. But again, if you're in Temple, this hail core likely to impact us here over the next several minutes. So again, not quite here yet, but getting close to 317 as we speak. And then taking a look at our other storm of interest right now, it's up in McLennan County. Again, you see it just to the southeast of Hewitt there, another hail core has developed within this storm. And again, that up to about golf ball sized hail as well, just to the south. Remember, we took a look at this just a few minutes ago, right over Hewitt. It was dropping, dime, nickel, up to quarter sized hail. But now again, we're seeing that potential golf ball sized hail move over Highway 77 coming out of Waco. So the thing is, again, we can give you a really good idea, really good estimate of what's falling out of the storm, but it is likely not going to be perfect. So keep that in mind, and remember that these, if you see 1 inch hail, even if it's not 1.5 inch like our radar is indicating, remember 1 inch hail, 3/4 inch hail, still damaging, can still do damage. Definitely want to be indoors as these storms are moving over the area. Moving off basically to the east, a little bit of a northeasterly track there, so moving towards Highway 6. And then we'll move on towards Mart over the next several minutes as well. So that's a look at a couple of the storms that we're dealing with. Let's take that overall wide look once again, because even folks that aren't dealing with hail cores right now, still dealing with a lot of rain and a lot of flooding concerns across central Texas. You can see right now McLennan County under both a flood advisory and a flash flood warning. You can see Freestone County also under that flash flood warning. These are two areas across central Texas that have seen a lot of rain already and continue to see storms just train right through those areas. When we talk about training, again, that's storms lining up like train cars, just moving through one by one. So again, a lot of rain over a relatively short period of time for parts of McLennan County, for Freestone County. And again, now you can see this whole system, instead of moving northeast, is basically moving east as the entire system now starts to move just a little bit more to the south. So again, from Temple to Marlin to Centerville, Franklin, Hearn, Cameron, College Station, all those areas that haven't seen anything yet, we are now starting to see this all kind of take that southern push. And we'll move through the southern parts of the viewing area over the next several hours as well. Remember, this tornado watch in effect until 8 o'clock. If there's an area that is going to be most susceptible to the potential of a tornado, it's going to be areas in the Brazos Valley, southern Falls County, southern Bell County there, as that front continues to push through. But areas that have already been undercut by that front, less likely to see that tornadic activity. But as you can see, still very actively could see some of that hail falling across the area. So that's what we got going on right now. I do want to take another look at that Bell County storm. Yeah, you can likely hear the thunder in Temple, and again, that hail core looking like it's going to move just to the north of Temple proper. But again, lots of communities there on the north side of Temple, and then of course up towards Pendleton as well. We're seeing the potential for that hail to kind of form and move through. And again, with each scan, we see this core kind of go up and down a little bit. And so right now, within the core of this storm, and this is the area that could impact northern parts of Temple here. We're seeing in this lightest purple shading up to 1.7. So again, up to close to between golf ball and egg-sized hail falling within this storm. Okay, so I just heard from our producer, yeah, so there is some hail being reported in West Temple, where a lot of those new developments are the ones that were impacted by the tornado last year. Again, not seeing that tornadic rotation. I do want to preface everything I say with that. This is likely going to be primarily a hailstorm, but again, hail starting to fall in West Temple there along 317 south of Airport, and then kind of along Adams as well. So that area is seeing a little bit of hail. Pendleton seeing a little bit of hail as well. So again, this is all continuing to move east. As I put a track on it, you can kind of see what direction it's headed. And again, kind of moving right towards that area, those new developments I was just talking about out in West Temple, obviously towards the northern parts there of Temple as well. So again, if you live along Adams, along Airport, closer to 317, all those new developments out in West Temple, the West Adams area, make sure you're staying indoors because, again, this is bringing some fairly large hail with it, at least according to our radar indications. So that is what we're dealing with right now, and we'll continue to deal with it. These storms, the good news here, moving fairly quickly. And with that, no one part of the storm will stay over any area for an overly long amount of time. That's the good news, of course. When we're talking about hail, the longer it falls, the more damage it's going to do. So again, with the speed of these storms, again, should move through fairly quickly. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Can hear the rain starting to fall on our downtown Temple studio here. And again, that rain will precede the hail. And again, if you're along 317, already hearing reports of hail along that area. So again, a lot going on with this storm in Bell County. Very large hail moving in. And again, we'll continue to keep you updated. But for now, I'm going to go check the chat here and see if we have any other reports to pass along. Do want to fix that. It was showing up as zeros there for a second. Going to go ahead and stop this. Okay. All right, so there you go. Again, between golf ball and egg-sized hail falling in the storm. Again, moving towards Temple, moving through West Temple. Again, between Adams and Airport, all of those communities there, potential for seeing some very large hail in that area. Just make sure you are indoors at this time. All right, lots of rain moving into parts of downtown Temple right now, but that hail threat staying primarily, again, along 317, along Airport there, again, Highway 36, moving basically west to east at this point. So all night we've been talking about northeast, southeast, and all these different directions. But right now, all these storms basically moving from west to east across the area. So again, we're going to see this particular storm that is moving just to the north of Temple, likely stay just north of most of downtown, the central Temple areas. But again, if you're in West Temple, again, 36 there towards 317, all those new housing developments out here in this little triangle, again, out towards the airport. This is all being... Oh, actually, hearing we have some hail video from West Temple. So if we can throw that up, that'd be awesome. All right, so here you go. Again, this is coming out of West Temple. You can see rain and hailstones falling on the ground there. Again, from this video, it's hard to tell without much scale, but looks like potentially dime-sized hail. I'm sorry? Small, yeah. So like I said, dime-sized hail, maybe as high as nickels there. So again, this is what I'm talking about. So when we show you the radar and it says we have 1 inch hail, we have 1.5 inch hail, that gives us an estimate. And of course, from that, we can issue a severe thunderstorm warning or if we need to. But really, what's reaching the ground may not reach the levels that our radar is showing you. Because again, sometimes it's showing you way up in the storm. Remember, our radars are pretty widely spread out. We have one in Fort Worth. We have one down in Williamson County. That's the one that we're likely getting information from here. So again, it's going to be sometimes a little bit different what you actually see versus what the radar indicates. But in the event, of course, that we do see that 1-inch hail, that golf ball sized hail potentially, we want to make sure that you are prepared for that. Even though it's not reaching the ground, we want you to know that that is possible. It is capable of producing hail of that size. So even if that's not reaching the ground, it doesn't mean that we're trying to scare you intentionally. It just means that, hey, this is what could be happening. So that's what we got going on right now. This will continue to cross airport and move across I-35 here over the next 15-20 minutes. And I'm listening intently. I felt like I just might have heard a couple of hailstones potentially hitting the roof. But again, you can see here based on our radar indications, if you're in downtown Temple, it's not going to be large hail, but again, it is still falling out of the storm. So not necessarily something you want to be outside for. In fact, just going to go take a quick gander out the window real quick. Well, friends, that may have been a mistake. The wind is definitely blowing across the area as well. Remember, that's the other part of these severe storms. It's not just about the hail, it's also about the wind. So as soon as I open the door to take a look out, I got a face full of rain because the wind is blowing right in through that door. So keep that in mind as well. But again, you can see this is all becoming much less organized. Again, when we have these tight hail cores like we were seeing before, that's when we can really start to see large hail. But these kind of disorganized hail cores, it's going to be pea to dime sized hail usually at that point. And again, starting to see it fall apart just a little bit. And that's kind of what we've seen all day. We've seen these hail cores pop up for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes at a time. This one has held together for about a half an hour. But then we start to kind of see them get a little more disorganized because they just don't have, again, we've talked about this at length today, they don't have that base level support where they're being undercut by a little frontal system. So what ends up happening is you really can't get the strongest storms under that scenario. You can still get 1.5-inch hail, you can still get ping pong ball sized hail, egg sized hail, but that takes away a lot of the tornado threat, and it really takes away a lot of that tennis ball, baseball sized threat that we talk about sometimes this time of the year as well. Let's take another look up to the north. And the other thing you're going to notice is all these storms, we've talked about individual storms, but really at this point kind of growing into a complex. And when we see these complexes of storms develop, then we'll get a little bit more of that pushback. Okay, remember we were seeing kind of move off to the south earlier, now it's all just kind of sitting over central Texas, moving from west to east. Well, as soon as we get this complex developing into a good line of storms, we should get that push back and we should start seeing it move off to the south. The problem again, if you live from College Station up through Franklin, even as far north as Marlin, Cameron, these are still the areas that still have plenty of instability, plenty of heat, plenty of humidity, so that tornado threat's still there, that tornado that tornado watch still in effect until 8 o'clock tonight for all the counties highlighted in yellow, but primarily anything south of the storms right now, that's where the highest tornado threat is. The rest of these storms, yeah, capable of hail, but that's about it at this point. Again, can't rule out a brief spin up, but when you don't have that base level support, those winds at the surface to help kind of drive that energy, you're not going to get that as much of that tornadic activity. There's another storm I want to take a look at. This one over here in the I-45 corridor. North of Centerville there, right just to the west of Buffalo, has a new severe thunderstorm warning on it. And again, another storm with a very large hail core developing. This severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Leon County, Freestone County, and then eventually moving into Anderson County. Again, this is moving off to the east at about 35 miles per hour. And so again, the good news here is, remember, we've seen storms kind of move in at 5, 10, 15 miles per hour. As long as they're moving at 35 miles per hour, they're not going to be over any one area for an extended length of time. So when you start to see these hail cores, you're not going to be dealing with that for 20, 25 minutes. You're going to deal with it 10, 15. And again, any time we can save when it comes to hail, obviously the less time it has to fall, the less damage it's going to do. Looking inside the storm, we're going to see, again, kind of in the last scan, you see it kind of fall apart a little bit. And again, that's been the case all night long. There's not a whole lot of support here for these strong storms to stay, long-lived and very strong for, significant periods of time. So we've seen them kind of scale up a little bit, kind of fall apart, scale back up, kind of pulse up and down a little bit as they go along. But this hail core moving right towards Buffalo. So if you're in Buffalo, just make sure you're staying indoors. Again, quarter-sized hail possible. Our radar indicating about 1-inch hail there. So that is that quarter-sized hail as this moves into Buffalo. Just make sure you're aware of that and staying indoors as this moves through. We've talked a lot about hail. The other thing, of course, I want to talk about is flash flooding, because a lot of areas have seen storms just move in one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other. Again, we call that training, like train cars lined up. So if you look at an area like Buffalo, it's already seen some strong storms already. Now seeing another one, this storm near Thornton, likely to move through Buffalo as well. Fairfield saw that storm move through. Now the storm moving towards Mexia will move through Fairfield. Mexia has already seen multiple storms. Another one incoming there. Same thing in Waco. And now we could start to see that same situation develop down in Bell County as well. So lots of rain falling, and so flash flooding a concern over the next few hours as well. You can see that flood advisory, flash flood warning in effect for McLennan County. Same thing in Freestone County. And again, our 3 separate severe thunderstorm warnings still in effect across central Texas. We'll come back with another update here in just a couple of minutes. Right now, I'm going to go update just a couple of things over here. All right, thanks again for staying with us on our live stream that we have going on 6plusKCEandTV.com and on our mobile app. A couple of things I wanted to point out. Did get a report out of Woodway where all these storms have caused a power line wire to fall across the entirety of the 7,000 block of Highway 84 and Woodway Drive. And Encore is asking that you avoid the area as they're going to have to shut down the entirety of the highway to remove the wire and traffic will be backed up. So again, Woodway, we're seeing a downed power line across Woodway Drive and Highway 84. That's the 7,000 block of Highway 84. So again, that is an area to avoid as Encore works to get that set back up. The problem is repairs at this point are going to be very difficult because if we look at that area, We are still seeing some pretty significant rainfall across McLennan County. Take a look here. Most of McLennan County seeing at least some level of rainfall at this time. So if you think about where Woodway is, that's an area that's still getting hammered with rain. So, you know, God bless the guys from Encore out there doing great work for us, but it's going to be very difficult with this rain still falling. So don't have a timeline on that just yet. Again, we just have the report that that power line wire is down, but again, no reports coming from Encore or Woodway Public Safety about when that might get fixed at this time. But again, lots of rain still falling across McLennan County. That will make repairs difficult. Again, flash flood warning in effect for most of McLennan County. Already seen reports of some flooded out roadways across Waco. Again, those low-lying areas, I'm especially looking at the areas around the Bosque River, around Lake Waco, all those areas, any low-lying areas, very quick to fill up there, so keep that in mind. Other areas of rainfall concern, I say other areas, it's pretty much most of central Texas at this point, because if you look at Bell County, we've had significant rainfall already, and take a look at what's happening. So the main storm with the hail that was moving through, most of the hail has moved past Temple. You see just this little secondary core south of town still there. But behind this primary storm, there is another line of heavy rain moving in. So we're going to continue to see those same issues with storms backed up one after the other. You can see all the way back towards Killeen now, another storm moving in. So lots of rainfall in store for Bell County over the next, let's say, hour or so. So again, could see those flooding concerns across Bell County as well. Lots of rain with this particular system, and especially considering right now it's not necessarily moving south, it's all moving west to east. So again, we're going to see storm after storm after storm after storm. Hopefully, though, over the next couple of hours, we start to get some of that forward motion back and we start pushing it off to the south. And again, I hate to sound like that, and I hate to sound like I'm not thankful for all the rain. The problem is you can't get it all at once. That's just not how this works. Obviously, as it starts to infiltrate into the ground and kind of percolate down through the dirt, and we start to get some of that moisture back where it needs to be, the dirt gets saturated and everything starts to sit on top and it just runs off. Obviously, our lakes need some water too. There's no doubt about that. But again, that also leads to flooding concerns on area roadways. What we'd like to see is all this move out over the next, let's say, hour or so. And then we get more rain tomorrow, more rain Friday, but that's likely not going to be the case. We're looking at a few more hours here of potential rainfall across central Texas, especially as, watch what happens now, everything starts to back build along that frontal boundary back towards Burnett. So we're seeing more showers develop, not necessarily seeing severe weather on the back end of the storm, but we are seeing more rain that will move into central Texas here over the next few hours. So again, hail is one issue. All of the rain that we're seeing is issue number 2. So again, remember, if you see flooded roadways, find an alternate route. Turn around, don't drown. Again, it only takes about 6 inches of water to move a car, and you will not be able to tell if there are 6 inches of ground or 2 inches of water on the ground. So the idea is it is always safest just to avoid that and try a different direction whenever you see those flooded out roadways. Another thing that I want to point out, I know there's a lot going on, a lot to talk about here. Notice this little leading edge of this storm in Bell County. It's got a little bit of a bow shape to it, and typically that would indicate to me that we're potentially seeing some strong winds blowing out of that storm. It's not really a super well-defined bow, and it may just be that I'm seeing things, which happens from time to time. But I do want to take a look inside here because it's possible we're seeing 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts at least with this storm. We're going to switch radars. We're going to switch to our Williamson County radar. Actually, I think I like the DFW radar a little bit better. Okay, so with the DFW radar, obviously it's a little bit further away, but you're seeing these bright shadings, again, 50, 60 mile an hour winds, but this is higher up in the storm. So at the surface, as we switch back to our Williamson County radar, not necessarily seeing indications of those strong winds. We are seeing that up towards Marlin, Waco, Mart. Again, these pink shadings indicating potentially 50, 55 mile an hour winds. Again, severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for that area, not just for the hail, but potentially for the wind as well. So again, not seeing as much wind down here. Again, potentially my eyes just playing tricks on me when I was looking potentially for that bowing segment in this storm, but really not seeing it there on our velocity scans. I definitely opened the door a little bit ago, and I definitely got blown back a little bit and definitely got rain in my face. So there is definitely wind, but not necessarily maybe to the severe criteria, maybe 30, 40, 45 mile an hour wind gusts with this storm as it moves through. But it is continuing to move through. They have extended the severe thunderstorm warning now to include parts of Falls County down in towards Milam County and then Robertson County, as well as this whole complex is continuing to push off to the east. Hail cores have diminished a little bit. We're not seeing the 1.5 to 2 inch hail, but we are still seeing indications of hail within this storm from Troy to Temple. And as we're talking about hail, let's go ahead and pop up some more hail video. Okay, so we have a photo here out of Killeen. Again, we're seeing potentially up to 1 inch hail. What you're seeing in these videos, these photos, potentially it looks like a nickel quarter-sized hail. Again, that would be that 1 inch hail, not necessarily the golf ball-sized hail our radar was indicating, but very large, large enough to definitely cause some damage out there. And this one is out of Copper's Cove. Here we're definitely seeing quarter-sized hail. So this is out of Copper's Cove, right, Samantha? Okay, so these are definitely golf ball sized hailstones or quarter sized hailstones. So between quarter and golf ball size. So that is definitely severe hail that fell in Copper's Cove. As far as what you're seeing out of Killeen and other parts of Bell County, yeah, dime, nickel sized hail, maybe up to quarter sized hail, but Copper's Cove is where we're seeing some of the largest hail, confirmed hail of the day. Also Clifton, the Clifton Police Department did send us a notification that they were seeing potentially quarter sized hail there as well. This, if I remember correctly, is off of West Adams here from just about half an hour to an hour ago. And again, not seeing the largest hail, but you're seeing a lot of it. You're seeing lots of hailstones out there. Again, dimes, nickels, pocket change sized hail, potentially as high as 1/4. And so with the quarter sized hail, that again is where we start to issue those severe thunderstorm warnings. So that's what we're seeing across the area. But again, not showing nearly as impressive as it was before now as it crosses over I-35 moving towards Falls County. But still enough there that you definitely don't want to be out in this. Definitely make sure you're indoors. And if you can, make sure the car is in the garage, especially right now as this moves towards Lott. It moves up towards Marlin over the next hour or so. And again towards Galinda potentially here. Because again, as I'm listening to our roof, I'm just trying to listen for any of the telltale signs, the plinky sounds that hail would make as it hits a concrete roof. Not necessarily hearing that right now, but hearing plenty of rainfall across our downtown Temple studio right now. So that's what we got going on. Let's take that wide look again to show you what's going on across central Texas. We'll put it in motion. You can see, again, all this activity is all moving basically west to east. And you can see now Temple is now out of that severe thunderstorm warning, and now primarily for eastern Bell County and Falls County, and then on towards Milam and Robertson as well. Again, putting all this in motion. Everything is basically moving off to the east right now. Hopefully over the next couple hours, again, we get more of that southern movement out of it, and it'll start pushing towards the Brazos Valley and then eventually out of the area. Again, one more time, just to reiterate, areas south of the activity that you're seeing right now still have plenty of heat, humidity in the atmosphere. So again, that fuel there for potentially tornadic storms is still there. But then the later and later we get into the evening, that starts to diminish anyway as we start to lose some of that daytime heat. So we'll keep an eye on it. But again, severe storms definitely still possible for the rest of central Texas into the Brazos Valley over the next several hours. Going to take another quick little break here. We'll keep the radar running there as these storms continue to march across central Texas. All right, 6+ streamers. We are going to be going on TV here in just about a minute to give everybody an update on what's going on. Of course, you can always stream us all evening long on our 6+ app, on kcentv.com, and of course on our mobile app as well. This is what we continue to see, those severe thunderstorm warnings continuing across central Texas, moving through McLennan, Falls, and Bell County, and of course, right now, we're seeing some of those hail cores really diminish in strength, which is good news, but they're not falling apart completely. So again, we are continuing to keep an eye on what happens with these hail cores. The other thing, of course, is the rain. We're seeing more and more storms just train right across the same area. So again, that is also going to be a concern, definitely with flooding as we head through the rest of the night as well. So right now, just getting ready for our cut-in. Okay, about 30 seconds left to go. So I'm going to just get a couple of things prepared. Well, good evening, Central Texas. Don't want to cover up any of your programming tonight, but I do want to get you up to date on what's going on out there during this commercial break. You can see several severe thunderstorm warnings still in place for Bell County. That one moves into Falls County now, mostly Falls County at this point. Also from McLennan County into Limestone County, and then from Limestone into Freestone as well. Primary threats right now are just hail. We're seeing a lot of hail cores kind of develop and then kind of fall apart. We saw one very large hail core move just to the north of Temple, but that storm now has kind of combined with a couple of storms to its north. We're not really seeing that hail core in there anymore. You can see there everything kind of falling apart as it goes, but still some pea to dime sized hail possible there in and around the southern parts of Temple and then areas off to the east. In fact, if we can, go ahead and cue up the photos and videos. So this is out of Killeen, if I remember correctly. Again, you can see all this is up to a dime, nickel, quarter sized hail, that pocket change sized hail. But again, the quarter sized hail, that's where we issue those severe warnings. So that is what we're dealing with. And this is out of Copper's Cove. Here you can see, and then we should have a couple more out of Copper's Cove where there's a little bit more of a little bit of a scale. There we go. So this is all quarter to golf ball sized hail that fell in Copper's Cove a little bit earlier. You can see some very large hailstones, definitely golf ball sized hail there in these particular stones. And again, this is what it kind of looked like as it was falling. A lot of hail falling out of these storms, even if it wasn't the largest hail in the world. Lots of hail falling out of some of these severe thunderstorms as they moved across. Let's take another look at the radar here before we get back to programming. You can see all this is starting to kind of combine together, mainly a rain threat right now. And the one thing we do need to talk about, as areas that are already saturated see more and more rain, we are going to be dealing with flooding issues throughout the rest of the night. So if you have business out there across the area tonight, just make sure you're not driving through any flooded roadways. But let's go ahead and get you back to programming. We'll keep everything going on our 6+ streaming app for the rest of the evening. All right, another successful television cut-in, and it doesn't look like I covered anything up. All right, that's good news. All right, so again, this is what we got going on right now. If you're in Temple, you saw one storm move through. You're about to see another rainmaker move through. Not seeing much in the way of hail within this storm, but again, more rain on already saturated ground could start leading to flooded out roadways. Already seeing that situation up in McLennan County. So again, lots of rain falling out of the storm. That is kind of concern number one right now. Yes, there's still hail cores, but they're not necessarily severe. We're worried a little bit more about the rain. So we're going to let the radar play here for just a few minutes. All right, wanted to let everybody know on our live stream that seeing an update from Woodway Public Safety that Highway 84 has been reopened at the 7000 block where there was a downed power line before. So that is good news. Definitely a major roadway that we definitely want to be open. But again, rain continues to fall, so for any folks working on any damage or any linemen that are going to be out over the next several hours for any of our electrical concerns, again, lots of rain continues to fall. You can see that it is starting to slide just a little bit to the southeast, so we're starting to see some of that forward momentum back in these storms. That's good news because there are a lot of areas that have seen a lot of rain that need that rain to come to an end. Give it a chance to soak in before we have yet another potential round of storms as we head through the day tomorrow and on Friday as well. As far as everything else is going, a lot of those hail cores we've been talking about all night are diminishing a little bit. We're still seeing one very strong storm just to the east of Mejia right now along Highway 84 there. As we look inside that particular part of the storm. Again, along 84, just to the east of Mejia, potentially hail core there, dropping up to about 1 inch hail. So again, it's the same situation we've seen all across central Texas, basically. Hail being estimated by radar anywhere between 1 inch to 1.5 inches. And what falls out of the storm is usually dime, nickel, quarter-sized hail. So that's kind of the situation we've been seeing all over the area tonight, and should be the situation we continue to see here over the next couple of hours. As this storm system continues to progress to the south, areas in the Brazos Valley, we're going to continue that tornado watch here because, again, still a lot of humid, warm air in that area, so the instability is still firmly in place. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at our temperatures map right now. And likely that this boundary is not going to be in the right spot because I haven't updated it in a minute. But yeah, you can still see 83 degrees in College Station right now. Compare that to 64 in Marlin and Temple and Killeen. So still plenty of warm air, plenty of fuel for these storms to work with as they get down towards the Brazos Valley. So something worth keeping an eye on for the next few hours in that part of Central Texas as well. As far as what your forecast shows, again, we're going to move this just a little bit because it's just at 5 o'clock. We'll move this to 7:30. You can kind of see how it lines up with what's actually happening. It's pretty close. Our forecast model here pretty close. So as we put it in motion, should give us a pretty good idea of what to expect over the rest of the night. About 10:30, that's when we expect the storms to move into the Brazos Valley. Still strong at that point, but as we get deeper into the night, the severe threat does diminish. We should see everything move out by about midnight, 1, 2 o'clock. Don't expect much in the way as far as the overnight activity is concerned. For tomorrow, again, as we head towards the afternoon, late evening hours, yeah, we could see some more development. I think a lot of what we see tonight is going to help us out in that regard in terms of not necessarily seeing as severe weather or as widespread weather tomorrow, but again, some isolated to scattered storms, some of them with the potential to be strong, still in the forecast for tomorrow. In fact, slight risk in effect for most of central Texas for Thursday afternoon into the evening. Other than that, temperatures, again, on the cooler side as we wake up tomorrow morning because of that frontal boundary that's coming through. By tomorrow afternoon, though, plenty of warmth. Once again, we rebound very quickly back into those middle 80s. And then for Friday, again, we're going to watch our next cold front come through. As it does so, could kick up some showers and thunderstorms as it moves from north to south. And with that, again, some could be on the stronger to potentially even severe side. We have a marginal risk there for your Friday as well. The good news is, yeah, some of those storms might last into Saturday morning. However, we expect for the most part, mostly clear to partly cloudy skies both Saturday and Sunday. Same story on Monday, though as we head towards Tuesday and Wednesday, we watch our next storm system, which will then bring us our next chance for potentially showers, thunderstorms, and those severe conditions. Again, we'll set it back to the radar and let it play. We'll be back in just a little while with another update. All right, I want to thank everybody again for staying with us on our live stream this evening. Again, mainly just a rain and hail threat at this point. A couple of gusty wind gusts are possible, but really the rain and the hail are the big story. This storm here just north of Teague, moving towards Fairfield, 2-inch diameter hail. Again, that is egg-sized hail. So if you think of how large just your standard egg that you would buy from the grocery store would be, that's how large the hail is, at least indicated by radar. Remember, we've been talking about this all night. Just because it's indicated by radar to be 2 inches in diameter does not necessarily mean that's what's reaching the ground. However, it is capable of that. So, of course, we warn you of that so you're aware and can take the precautions. As far as what you need to do, just make sure you're staying indoors right now. That's the key. And driving is not a great idea. Being outside in a hailstorm, also not a great idea. Also, lots of lightning that we're seeing across the area. So, again, just make sure that you are staying indoors at this time. And you see on this last scan, we actually saw that hail core is now estimated to be even just a little bit larger, getting closer to 2.5-inch hail, which once we get to 2.5-inch hail, now we're talking tennis balls. So now we have a real issue. So again, we're going to keep an eye on this storm, but again, we'll let this run here for the next several minutes. I'll give you another update here shortly. All right, Central Texas, thanks again for staying with us on our live stream this evening. Again, we still have lots of thunderstorm activity moving across Central Texas. Kind of an actively fluid environment out there. We're still seeing several hail cores across Central Texas, but the one most of note is moving into and just north of Fairfield across I-45 here over the next several minutes. This is, we have reports from on the ground of ping pong ball sized hail falling out of this storm as it moves towards Fairfield. So again, this is a very large storm, very dangerous storm. Want to make sure that you're indoors and again, not trying to travel up and down I-45, at least for the next, say, half hour or so. If you're in Fairfield and you're thinking, I got to get up I-45 for some reason, just give it another 45 minutes or so. Let the storm get past because this hail is very large. We're talking, our radar is indicating up to 2.5 inches. We have reports on the ground of ping pong ball sized hail. So again, not quite to that 2.5 inch size, but still very large, still very dangerous as it continues to fall out of this storm. So let's take a look around the area. Again, that one also starting to dissipate a little bit, and that's been the story all night. You see these hail cores pop up and then they kind of fall apart. Then they'll redevelop. They pulse a little bit across the area. So just because you're not seeing it now doesn't mean you won't see it at some point this evening. Another area that I want to look at here is moving into Limestone County, out of Falls County right now. And again, maybe a little bit of a bow segment developing here on this particular storm, just north of Bremond there, about to move into Limestone County. Maybe an indication of some strong winds. Let's take a look inside the storm. Again, the hail there, not as impressive, probably still 1 inch in diameter, so it's definitely severe thunderstorm worthy, but I'm worried about the winds too. And again, maybe some broad mid-level rotation within this storm as well. Nothing tornadic at this point, but worth noting that there is just a little bit of rotation popping up here in some of the mid-levels of this storm. But again, I want to focus on the velocity here. See those bright pink colors just in and around and just north of Bremond. 43-mile-an-hour winds, potentially as high as 50-mile-per-hour winds within this storm. So again, another storm that's kicking out some pretty impressive winds and kicking out some pretty impressive hail, as again we're seeing about 1 inch in diameter. All this again moving off to the east. Here's the good news. As we take a much wider look, you can see a lot of this activity is starting to kind of focus together and kind of form into one of those linear patterns that we always see across Central Texas when we have these systems come through. Because of that, our expectation now is that we'll start to see this push more off to the southeast. So those areas that have been dealing with heavy rain, Bell County up into McLennan County, Falls County, we'll start to see some of that rain try to move off to the east-southeast here over the next couple of hours. That'll give us a chance to let some of that rain soak in. Because again, we're in a situation right now where we want the rain, but at the same time, it's not exactly the way that we need to get the rain. If you get it all at once, what happens is it starts to soak in, but then it's more than the dirt can handle, starts to sit on top, and that's when we start to see the puddling, the ponding, and of course that's what leads to the street flooding. So again, you don't want to get it all at once. What you'd like to see is this rain come to an end here over the next hour or so. It likely won't, but then we kind of start again tomorrow, see a little more activity on Friday, and we get those consistent bouts of rain. That's what's really best for our soil moisture and of course for our lakes as well. But again, everything will continue to push east, southeast over the course of the rest of the night. Again, looking at the Brazos Valley, those are the areas that we're still seeing the most humidity, the most heat, and of course the most instability. So as this whole system continues to push off to the southeast, what's going to happen is those are going to be the areas next that we really start focusing on for that severe weather threat. Yes, we're seeing severe weather across Central Texas, but the Brazos Valley, it'll be moving into your area here over the next few hours. And of course, we'll continue to keep you updated. For now, though, we're going to let that radar continue to run. All right, thanks for staying with us on our 6+ live stream, KCENTV.com, and of course on our KCEN mobile app as well. We continue to watch thunderstorms. Couple of updates for you. The first update is basically this. I just posted this to Facebook. If you live in Central Texas, you are very likely under a severe thunderstorm warning right now. We have a line of severe thunderstorm warnings all the way from Freestone County all the way back to Bell County, and each one of these is in effect for a different hail core that is developed within this line of storms. Lots of hail falling, and we're going to go through them one by one. But I do want to give you this update as well. Tornado watch that was in effect until 8 o'clock was allowed to expire. That has been replaced with a severe thunderstorm watch. That is until midnight. Now, the reason for that change, obviously the later we get, the less risk there is of that tornadic activity. We're going to see it primarily become a wind and hail threat as we head through the rest of the night. So let's kind of go through these one by one. We're seeing some very large hail cores within this storm, so a lot to talk about here. So we're going to do just that. So starting off in Freestone County, we're going to zoom in up here. This one, a minute ago, our radar was indicating up to tennis ball sized hail or close to it potentially. We had ground reports of hail up to about 1.5 inches. So again, that's going to be golf ball sized hail. So again, a little bit of a discrepancy there. But again, when our radar shows you is not necessarily reaching the ground. We could be seeing what is well up in the storm. And then by the time it gets to the ground, a little bit of melting takes place. And we're seeing, again, maybe golf ball, ping pong ball sized hail hitting the ground, not the tennis balls that our radar is picking up on within the storm. They're on the east side of I-45 now moving on towards the Trinity River. And that'll move into East Texas over the next few hours. Again, still close to 1 inch, so definitely still worth keeping that severe thunderstorm warning on it. That severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Freestone County until 8:30. And you just saw a couple of areas of Freestone County were just taken off of that. So that's in effect for about another half an hour. That is storm number 1 that we need to look at. Storm number 2. Just back to the southeast a little bit. This is in effect, this severe thunderstorm warning in effect for parts of Falls County moving into Limestone, Robertson County, and then on into Leon County eventually. That in effect until 8:45. This storm right now has one of the larger hail cores that we're seeing on our radar. And you can see between Thornton and Bald Prairie there, just because it's large in scale doesn't necessarily mean it's dropping terribly large hail. It's still right around 1 inch, so again, still worth a severe thunderstorm warning, but again, it's more going to be the scope rather than the actual size of the hailstones falling out. Again, between Thornton and Bald Prairie, this moving off to the east. All of this is going to shift a little bit south as we get through the rest of the night, but right now most everything is moving basically west to east. So if you live towards Centerville, there between Centerville and back towards Cossie and that area, back towards Highway 6 and Highway 14. That's where this is kind of traveling along right now. So that is storm number 2. Let's take a look at storm number 3. I told you there was a lot to look at, and we're going to look at all of them. This is going to be in effect for parts of Bell County. You can see it includes Temple, but the hail core still is well past Temple at this point. And that moves on into Milam County and then Robertson County as well. So notice the shape that has been drawn for this particular warning. It is taking a little bit more of that southeasterly, east-southeast sort of direction. So that's kind of where we're starting to see everything shift. So if you live in the Brazos Valley and you're watching us from the Brazos Valley, all this is headed your way, and it's going to do so over the next couple of hours. So keep that in mind. But this not necessarily as organized as the other hail cores that we were seeing from Rogers back towards Academy there along 95. These are some fairly large hailstones back towards Bartlett as well. You can see here southern Bell County just on the Williamson County line, close to 2 inches in diameter. That's what our radar is estimating. They're along 95 coming out of Temple towards Bartlett. They're about 1.5 inches. So again, golf ball sized hail falling out of this storm, and then just about 1 inch hail there in the Rogers area, maybe up towards Academy as well. So those are kind of the severe thunderstorm warnings we have in effect. Hail is problem number 1, and it is a big problem. But problem number 2, and I know nobody wants to hear me say this, but problem number 2 right now is the amount of rain that we're seeing. Now, we're not seeing those flood warnings in effect anymore. Again, a lot of this having the opportunity to soak in, especially in McLennan County. Remember, we were seeing a flash flood warning that basically was covering the entirety of McLennan County. But now that the heaviest rain has moved out of that area, we have seen that flash flood warning allowed to expire. Now we're looking back towards Bell County, up towards Falls, Limestone, Freestone counties. These areas have continued to see rain for the better part of at least the last hour, hour and a half. And so because of that, you're seeing that flash flood warning for Freestone County. Not seeing flash flood warnings the rest of the way, but I mean, I just looked out the window. We're in downtown Temple. I looked at 3rd Street. people are creating some very large waves as they drive by. So again, do not drive through those flooded roadways. Remember, turn around, don't drown. Anytime you see water standing on a road, it only takes 6 inches to move a car, and there's very little way of knowing if that water is 6 inches deep or not. So just keep that in mind and make sure you find alternate routes. But again, take a look here. You can see this storm was back to the edge of Limestone County. It is now peeled back towards Mejia, so you can see there is a little bit of that southeasterly direction, so this will start moving on. So if you're in Navarro County, where you're still seeing some light rain, McLennan County still seeing some light rain, but all the heavier stuff has moved on, and that will continue to be the trend through the rest of the evening. Again, severe thunderstorm watch in effect until midnight for all the counties that have not seen the storms yet or are currently seeing these storms, and we'll continue to keep an eye on that. Now let's take a look at your forecast. Haven't done that in a while. Kind of give you an idea of where we're headed here. All right, so as we pull up your forecast, what you're going to see is there around 7:30. It kind of showed everything exactly where it was. So again, our forecast model picking up pretty good on where everything was at 7:30. Here we go, 8 o'clock. Still pretty spot on, actually, as really as spot on as a forecast model probably could be under these circumstances. Putting it in motion, you'll see everything kind of move towards the Brazos Valley by 10, 10:30, 11 o'clock, moving through by about 12, 12:30, 1 o'clock, and then everything's basically out of here by about 2 a.m. Now, will the severe threat last until 2 a.m.? Probably not. The deeper and later you get into the night, the cooler it gets. And again, with that front kind of moving past all these storms, there's not going to be as much energy to work with, so we'll see that kind of fall apart pretty quickly through the rest of the night. So I don't expect severe weather all the way up until 2 a.m., but again, until midnight, we could continue to see some of those stronger storms. After that, heading towards tomorrow morning, I got nothing for you. We'll have mostly clear to partly cloudy skies throughout the day. For the afternoon, because of everything that happened today, it's going to take a while for the atmosphere to kind of recover from all of this. So we're looking for more activity tomorrow, but it's going to be later in the day. We're talking late afternoon into the evening. And again, it's isolated, it's scattered. You're not seeing the widespread showers and thunderstorms like we saw today. It's just not in the cards for us because of how much we actually got today. That doesn't mean that a couple of these storms can't be strong to severe on us, and we'll continue to watch for that, but it'll be isolated, it'll be scattered. We have that slight risk for severe weather for tomorrow afternoon, that level 2 out of 5. Again, there will be a low tornado threat, but really more of a hail and wind threat, and really most of us aren't going to see anything tomorrow. It's going to be scattered, isolated across the area. When you wake up tomorrow morning, upper 60s, middle 60s across the area, a little bit cooler behind that boundary coming through. Tomorrow afternoon, though, plenty of warmth, plenty of heat for those storms to work with if we can get them off the ground to begin with, as we'll see temperatures back into the mid and upper 80s. For your Friday, here's the thing. We do expect more storm activity on Friday. As of right now, the severity of that, a little bit up in the air, but we do expect more widespread showers and thunderstorms on Friday afternoon as another front pushes through the area. Right now going with that level 1 out of 5 marginal risk for severe weather for your Friday. Now after that, now that is a color I have not seen the tower cam turn at this point. It's we've reached orange level across Temple right now. And again, that's just a factor of, well, those of you that are in the photography business, a bad white balance on the camera combined with cloud cover and a little bit of that sunset sneaking through as well. So a lot going on to make Temple appear like it was in the movie Dune or something right now. But again, those weather impact alerts the next 2 days. Good news for you for the weekend. A little bit of a chance for showers in the morning on Saturday, but then we'll clear out, mostly clear to partly cloudy skies Saturday afternoon. Same story on Sunday, same story on Monday. And then our next system comes through, and by the early to middle parts of next week, we're working on our next thunderstorm and potential severe weather opportunity. All right, Central Texas, thanks again for staying with us on our live stream tonight. A couple of quick updates for you. Now, we're starting to see these storms make a little bit more of that eastward push, but we're also starting to see some of the rain back build, so it's really hard to give you a good estimate of when we should expect the rain to stop where we're seeing it currently. So keep in mind, if you're in the Temple area up towards Marlin and Fairfield, probably another at least half hour or so, maybe up to an hour of rainfall as these storms continue to push off to the east-southeast. Now, some of these severe thunderstorm warnings have been allowed to expire. We're still seeing a couple of them in place because we are still seeing those hail cores on the leading edge of the storm. Remember that leading edge, that's where we're going to see most of the strongest weather, because back behind that, we're kind of in the under the influence of some of that cooler wind flow, but again, out and along the leading edge, still plenty of humidity and heat to work with. So as we look towards Franklin, Ridge, from Robertson up towards Leon County, this storm right here, still with a fairly significant hail core. You can see up to about an inch, at least being estimated by our radar there, crossing into Robertson County right now. And then back to the west of Ridge, you can see just a very small hail core developing there. A little bit, probably just not even pea-sized hail there with that one to the west of Ridge. But again, all that activity moving off to the east at this time towards I-45, should cross somewhere between Buffalo and Centerville as it gets towards I-45. Back again in Bell County, a new development that we're seeing, in addition to the severe thunderstorm warning that's been in place for a while, a flash flood warning now in effect. That flash flood warning in effect until, it doesn't want to show up there, but it's in effect until about 10:30 as we continue to see heavy rain across parts of Bell County. And again, sort of back building a little bit, so the storm is moving off to the east-southeast, but what you're watching happen here is you're kind of seeing more and more of that rain develop back to the north and northwest. And because of that, again, hard to give you a really good solid estimate of when we should expect these storms to be out of Bell County. But again, more rain on the way. And again, these are areas at this point that really don't need to be seeing any more rain. But again, not much that can be done about that at this point, other than to say, just avoid any flooded roadways. Remember, turn around, don't drown. Don't try to drive through any of these flooded roadways that you may see. Again, our Temple studio, I look out the window at 3rd Street and I see people making gigantic waves. Again, there's almost no way of knowing how deep the water is. And because of that, it is best just to find an alternate route. Taking a wider view to show you that once this line of storms gets through, we're basically through for the evening, but again, moving rather slowly across central Texas, so it's going to be a little while. But that's really about it that's going on across Texas. You see this line of storms up near Wichita Falls, but even that should fall apart as it gets closer and closer to the DFW Metroplex later on tonight. For us, again, it's just this line, but again, moving very slowly across the area. And again, still seeing several hail cores along the leading edge of this line, also seeing those gusty winds, and of course, very heavy rainfall does continue across central Texas. As we get geared up for our next little live stream update, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can compile an estimate of how much rain has fallen across the area. For now, though, we're just going to let that radar continue to run. All right, thanks again for staying with us on our live stream tonight. There's been a lot going on across Central Texas today. Our first real major severe weather situation of the year. We've had some isolated severe storms here and there, but today really the first day that we've seen everything kind of be very widespread, very active across Central Texas. This is what we're dealing with right now. That storm system has kind of congealed into a solid line now, and what you're seeing now develop back here, whenever you see kind of all this kind of amoebus, sort of nebulous kind of rain developing behind a major system, this is what we call a cold pool. This is an area of rain-cooled air developing behind the system, and that really helps to push it along through the area. And as a matter of fact, you're finally starting to see, at least for the midsection of this storm, you're finally starting to see some of that southward motion that we've been talking about, and you can see it now moving into Milam County from Bell County. You can see moving from Falls and from Limestone County into Robertson County, and moving from Freestone now into Leon County. So all that is starting to move off to the south. So good news there. Because a lot of us have seen a lot of rain today, and we need it to stop. I know, and we, pray for rain all the time, of course, but then when we get it all back in one day, we end up with significant flooding concerns. While we're on the topic of flooding concerns, you can see a flash flood warning still in effect for Freestone County, still in effect for parts of Bell and Falls County, because there's been a lot of rain that has moved through those two areas. And what we've seen really, as the storm system starts to move to the south, I want to show you this is kind of an interesting little development. The storm system is moving off to the south-southeast, but what's happening is, as it did so, it was growing wider and wider. We were seeing it basically backbuild back to the north there for a little while, so it was really hard to get a read on where the storm was going to end up. But now we are starting to see a little bit of that push there, and as you look at the I-35 corridor, starting to see some clearing there around Temple. Should see some clearing here in the next 20-30 minutes there in Salado as well. So that is finally starting to push off to the east-southeast as well. For those of you that are in the Brazos Valley, this is finally headed your way, because just like the rest of Central Texas, the Brazos Valley in need of some rain out there as we see those drought conditions continue. So on its way. And the good news here, as it moves into the Brazos Valley, if you're watching us from Milam County, Robertson County, from Leon County, Madison County, Brazos County, Burleson County, Washington, and Grimes, what you're going to see is, yes, there is a severe thunderstorm threat. In fact, the severe thunderstorm watch in effect until midnight. But as it moves through, we're going to be looking at primarily a hail and wind event, not really seeing that tornadic activity that we were seeing maybe earlier this afternoon, that potential that was there. So that is good news. But again, if one of those 1-inch hail cores moves over your house, yes, that is going to be an issue. So again, just make sure you're staying indoors. Obviously, we're starting to get a little bit later. We're approaching 9 o'clock now here on this Wednesday night. So most people settling in for the evening, and again, just don't want to be going outside right now because, again, of this continued potential hail situation. So right now, severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for parts of Bell County into Milam County. Let's go ahead and get a look on that. You can see that is in effect until 8:45, so just a couple of more minutes. I think I might have clicked on the wrong one. This is one of those. Let me get rid of the severe thunderstorm watch because it's the exact same color. There we go. Let's try this again. Till 9:45. So again, this severe thunderstorm warning that includes, it's actually a very large severe thunderstorm warning. Robertson, Milam County, Falls County, Bell County. It does include all of this segment of the storm right here as it continues to move off to the east-southeast. This is still capable of up to 1-inch hail, and we're starting to see a little bit more of a wind threat develop a little bit along this leading edge of the storm because of the way it has become more linear, more kind of lined out, as we might say sometimes. So let's take a look at some of the velocity scans inside and see what's going on. Because we know about the hail. You can see some of the hail core right now. They're back towards Williamson County along the Milam-Bell County line. Some smaller hail falling right now over in Leon County. But the primary, the strongest storm we have going right now is the one definitely over the Bell, Falls, and Milam County line. So again, hail there up to about 1 inch likely coming out of the storm. As far as the velocity scan goes, and again, our radar is right there in Williamson County. What happens is sometimes when you get a little closer to the radar station, sometimes it gets a little bit muddled, but maybe there near Rosebud, the Milam County line there, maybe some 30, 40 mile an hour winds potentially there, 30 that you see there. Back here towards the southern reaches of Bell County towards Bartlett, about 30 miles an hour, so potentially 30 to 40 miles per hour. But again, that hail core still holding together there just to the south right now of Rogers. So that's the area of largest hail for that particular storm. You can see the other severe thunderstorm warning that's still in effect for parts of Limestone, Robertson, and Leon counties over here. The strongest part of the storm now stretching from Buffalo down towards Ridge. But you just saw when we kind of used our hail tool, not really seeing a whole lot in the way of hail in this storm, at least not radar indicated here. You can see winds again. Winds probably upwards about 40, 50 miles per hour out of that part of the storm. And again, just the one hail core there near Buffalo, just to the southwest of Buffalo there, probably about 1 inch hail there coming down as well. So again, even the hail starting to calm down a little bit. I do suspect it'll pick up a little bit as it continues to move into the Brazos Valley. And of course, I'll keep an eye on it and we'll continue updating you here on our 6 Plus live stream. But also, of course, here in about an hour and 15 minutes, we'll have 6 News at 10, where we'll have all the latest there as well. So just make sure you're staying with us through the rest of the evening. All right, just before 9 o'clock here on this Wednesday evening, taking another look at our storms right now. And again, we're still seeing everything move off to the southeast. What I've done is I've gone ahead and I've set up a 6-hour loop here of the radar. And the reason why I've done that, it's just very interesting the way these storms have kind of developed and moved across to the area today. So we had that little boundary coming through, that little front that's what kind of sparked everything off. But then it started to outrun everything, and that's what's kind of kept everything at bay. We haven't seen too much of a tornado threat today. We did see that one tornado warning up in parts of Hill County, but watch this. Everything's kind of moving off to the east, southeast, and then all of a sudden everything kind of takes this easterly jog as it kind of runs out of support there for that forward momentum. But then as we got in the last hour or so, we're finally starting to see everything push off to the southeast. So if you look in areas like Temple and Belton and Bell County there, finally starting to see some of that activity move off of I-35. Waco, which saw several hours of rainfall today, has been in the clear now for a little while, and that is good news, so everything can soak in there. For Freestone County, same story. You see that flash flood warning in effect there, just shower after shower after shower. Just you can watch them all go by here, training through that area. Again, train cars following each other in a line there, but then that is starting to move out, so we're starting to see some clearing there as well. And this whole system is now pushing down to the Brazos Valley. As it does so, still some warm, humid air down there. You can see along the leading edge, still seeing those hail cores developing along the leading edge of this storm. That's the other interesting thing about the 6-hour loop is anytime you see purple, that's a hail core. But notice they just kind of pop up and dissipate, pop up and dissipate. Again, that's that frontal boundary underneath these storms that's been rushing out ahead of the storms. Really keeps everything from staying as that sustained severe threat. And that's been good news. Been a lot of rain. Been several hail cores, but we really haven't talked much of a tornado threat outside of that one tornado warning that was up in Hill County. So that's what's going on over the last 6 hours. As far as what's going on right now, let's go ahead and stop this. You can see, again, starting to move into Milam and Robertson and Leon counties. And as a matter of fact, if you're in Robertson County, and several of you not seeing much of anything at all right now because there's a little break in the line right there. Two main little lobes of this line, the one that extends from Leon County up towards Freestone County, and the one that extends from western Robertson County back towards Williamson County right now. And again, inside of these storms, some hail cores, but again, we're not seeing the gigantic hail that we were potentially seeing earlier. Right now, most of it right around 1 inch, but again, 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts possible as these storms come through your area as well. So bear in mind that yes, still some wind gusts and some hail possible. The severe thunderstorm watch you see highlighted in yellow, that is in effect until midnight. So still plenty of fuel out there for these storms to work with. Let's take a look at our 2 severe thunderstorm warnings right now. We're going to start over here in parts of Leon County. And as we take a look at this severe thunderstorm, I'm going to turn off the watch because it makes it a little bit harder to see the severe thunderstorm warnings there. So again, this is going to be from Ridge back towards Buffalo. This is in effect until 9:45, so another 50 minutes or so. And this is going to be primarily for those wind gusts and hail potentially as large as 1 inch. Again, some of those wind gusts up to about 60 miles per hour out of this particular storm. In terms of the hail, like I said, up to 1 inch possible, but right now we're really not seeing that on radar. And so that means whatever's reaching the ground, probably even smaller, up to about a ½ an inch potentially there being indicated by radar along I-45 and then back towards Ridge there. So again, not a whole lot in the way of hail right now. And again, those winds, probably the primary concern right now, approaching 50, 60 mile an hour wind gusts at times. The other severe thunderstorm warning now for the back half of Bell County and Falls County, but primarily there for Milam and Robertson counties there. That's the western half of Robertson County. That one also in effect until 9:45. And again, inside the storm, we are still seeing those hail cores, especially down near Gerald. That's kind of our largest hail core right now down in Williamson County. Right there, looking at about 1½ inch hail, so potentially as large as golf ball sized hail. Again, that may not be reaching the ground, but that's what our radar is indicating. So you could probably be pretty safe in assuming that it's 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch, so nickel to quarter sized hail falling down there near Gerald right now. So that's kind of what's going on. We expect this to kind of stay with us for the next few hours. We'll continue to track it, and of course we have 6 News at 10 coming up here in just about another hour. All right, I want to thank everybody once again for staying with us on our live stream tonight. Still a very active night across parts of central Texas. Though if you're in the I-35 corridor and you're north of, say, Williamson County, things are starting to come to an end a little bit here. From Temple up towards Waco. Waco has been seeing clearing conditions for the last couple hours, and that's great news because they saw a lot of rain today. Need a chance for that to kind of soak in a little bit. We have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings for central Texas. Really, it's one warning. You can see they share a boundary there. So again, we're warning this entire segment from Centerville back towards the Williamson County line. Here's the deal. A lot of weakening has taken place in this storm complex. So right now we are looking at a situation where we could still see some hail throughout the night. These warnings still in effect until about 9:45, so another half hour or so. But really, and I'm going to scope the entire area across central Texas here to show you what's going on right now. Not really seeing a whole lot in the way of hail coming out of these storms. You can see just a couple of hail cores there for Williamson County, but again, that's about it. We call this sort of a tail end situation here on this line of storms, and so that's where we could see some of the strongest activities at the tail end of the storms. But for most of central Texas, you know, there does exist still a wind threat with these storms. In fact, seeing a couple of potential bowing segments across the leading edge here, and as we look inside the storm, we can pick out a couple of areas near Cameron there. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. Near Cameron, near Franklin, down towards Rockdale, where we are seeing wind gusts that are approaching, you know, it says it's showing 45 miles an hour. Could be seeing wind gusts of 40 to 50 miles per hour. My thought and feeling here on this is we will continue to see these severe thunderstorm warnings remain in effect until about 9:45. But at that point, unless we see some growth and some intensification in these storm segments, could see them come to an end by 9:45. But again, still seeing an environment that could be conducive to severe weather down in the Brazos Valley. In fact, let's go ahead and check our current conditions down there, because that'll give us an idea of what we can expect. And if we start to see those 60s popping onto the board, not seeing the 60s, but we are seeing those lower 70s right now in Hearn. That's going to be some rain-cooled air. Also could be that boundary coming through. I've got it up here, so I just haven't updated it yet. I will update this here in a little bit. But still seeing 80 degrees from College Station to Caldwell. So there is still some instability down in the Brazos Valley. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. But for the most part, as things continue to cool off, obviously we lose the heat of the day. We are going to see a situation where it's going to be more and more difficult for these storms to really reach those severe levels again. But again, that severe thunderstorm watch does remain in effect until midnight, so we'll continue to keep an eye on it. As we take a look back at our map, I'm going to go ahead and turn on our severe thunderstorm watch. You can see that is in effect for everybody from Bell County down to the Brazos Valley until midnight. A little interesting thing I wanted to show you real quick here. See all this? This is a couple of different things that could be, but what I'm looking at right now, given where it is in location to the storm, it's what we call a scatter spike. So it's the radar is picking up on the hail, and the hail is getting closer and closer to our radar station. So it kind of creates a little anomaly in our radar data that shows it extending way back. So you see all this, it's not actually rain. It's just, again, anomalous information coming from our radar site. So a little interesting thing there for you on this evening. But again, not rain as you're looking at that situation right there. Again, all of it is confined to where you see these reds and yellows from Georgetown basically back up through Centerville. But again, right now, severe warning still in effect, but our radar is not indicating much in the way of hail for central Texas. And again, those winds look like they're about 40, 50 miles per hour coming out of the storms right now. So we'll continue to keep an eye on it, but not really seeing much in the way of severe weather at the moment. So again, we'll let the radar run. And again, we'll be back here in about 10, 15 minutes with another update. And of course, we'll have 6 News at 10 starting, as you might have guessed, at 10 o'clock.